I will openly say, Hunter Dickinson, that was probably the weakest kick I've ever seen, dude. Like my dog paws me harder than that, you loser. Update your LinkedIn. Good Lord.
Mac, that
Something
was no
about that
Anderson.
guy.
Mac, that was no Anderson Silva.
No, not even close. Anderson Silva could have kicked that person harder with his an ankle snapped in half.
What's up, guys? Episode. What are we on? 5 now? 6?
Episode five,
Five,
see,
five,
episode
five.
five.
Episode 5. I'm love doing this, guys. I think we're doing a great job. Every single one, I think we're getting better. We just look more comfortable, and yeah, I think I'm out in Bloomington right now, so that's why I'm via Zoom. The boys don't have Jordan behind the bar. I know that's a big take, but boys in the garage. How we doing? And what do we think about this weekend?
Good, man. It was a great weekend. I mean, a lot of stuff happened, college football wise. I mean, it was nuts. There was brawls, fights. It's rivalry week. Hopefully, we can get some of that stuff during basketball season too. That'd be great.
Yeah, this week was crazy, I'll be honest. A lot of good games, crazy upset yesterday in Columbus. But real quick, we didn't pass it to Mackie for his bourbon of the day today. What was that for you today, Mackie? What were you drinking out there?
I took the day off from drinking, enjoyed the Colts game. Bourbon of the weekend, though, went with Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. That was what I sipped on most of the weekend. But yeah, other than that, great sports weekend. Rivalry week did not disappoint per usual.
No, it
Absolutely.
didn't. No, it did not, and we'll get into all that. But man, I mean, do we have a bunch of college basketball games that were just elite level of play or what, guys? I mean, so many different tournaments were played this weekend. I think there was four or five different tournaments played this weekend, and I tuned into all of them. And I mean, we're just seeing elite level college basketball right now, and that's just so intriguing because if we're seeing this level of play now, I can't wait to see towards the end of the season when teams aren't turning the ball as over as much and really develop that like full end of the season chemistry. But today, guys, we're going to be doing the SEC. We've been going through the conferences and stuff like that. So we've chosen the SEC. This will probably be our last conference that we do. But so we saved the best for last. John, I'm going to start it with you, buddy. If you'd like to give us your SEC pick and if you have a dark horse.
Yeah, I really don't have a dark horse here. You just watched Auburn out in Maui just absolutely pummel basketball teams. There wasn't a team out there, and there was a lot of high-level teams, and none of them looked like they even belonged on the floor with Auburn. Down 16 against Iowa State, a top 10 team in the country. Didn't even flinch, came out in the second half, and they just absolutely just ran them out of the gym, as they did to North Carolina, as they did to Memphis. I mean, these are teams that like to run, and Auburn just 11 guys just rotating them in and out. They're all good. Janai Broom, Wooden Award guy. I mean, they just have so much talent on that basketball team, and I really just don't think there's a team in the SEC that can beat them. Don't be surprised if Auburn goes undefeated this year. I would not be surprised at all, and so I don't really got a dark horse here. I'm going to take Auburn, and I'm going to roll with them. And like Mackie said all year, Auburn's a wagon, and he's going to keep sticking with them. So I might have to jump on that train. DP, who's your pick?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Tide. A little, Iron Bowl type stuff action. Auburn, Alabama here. Those games could be, very phenomenal basketball. I think it's going to be great. Expectations never been higher. In Tuscaloosa, bringing back Sears. They got Nelson back. They inked Nate Oates to an extension. So I think the Tide are really focused. But one thing that really has to happen, they can't lose games that they're not supposed to lose. Like losing to Oregon the other night, not ideal. They were 7.5-point favorites. They probably should have walked out away with a win.
A garbage call by That was a clean block. Screwed my plus 230 live money line. That was garbage.
You can't blame your bets on refs, man. It doesn't work like that. You obviously placed the wrong bet.
Yeah. Sorry, DP, to interrupt you. That's firing me up.
No, we're good. So I'm gonna take the Tide. I think that they can run and gun. I think that'll be very successful in the SEC. I know a lot of teams like to do that. So a couple of those games could be, well into the hundreds, when Bama plays Kentucky, when they play Auburn. That Tennessee game could get kind of action-ish. You never know. But they do have some upcoming tests. They play UNC and Creighton upcoming. So I'm excited to see how they play versus that. If they can play the way that they played against Houston and Rutgers, two very good teams, if they came out with wins, but if they show up like they did versus Oregon and Purdue, I guess you never know which way the dominoes could fall. But I'm going to take the Tide. I think that they have a good shot at making it back to the Final Four this year and contending in the SEC. What about you guys out there on the Zoom?
Buddy.
So I'll play devil's advocate here a little bit. I'll throw some dark horses out. I do think it is Auburn's conference. John, I love that pick. You are crazy for saying they're going to go undefeated, though. This is an 8 to 9 bid league. They will get snatched up on the road once or twice. I guarantee it. But
For sure.
two dark horses I'm going to throw out: Mississippi State and Florida. Both have talented guards. Josh Hubbard's the most underrated player in the country. They kick in just flat out hoop. And Florida, even amidst the coaching controversy, I think will end up being good. Obviously, they've started out hot. I don't know if you guys saw the Wichita State game early in the week. Absolutely steamrolled them.
Yeah, killed them.
Yeah, Alex Condon, really good. They've got good size. Ruben Schnell, who's 6'11" as well, along with Alex Condon. Still got Walter Clayton there, who's probably going to win SEC Player of the Year or be right there with Janai Broome. So I like that.
Mark.
Pardon me?
Wade Taylor, question mark?
No, he's a shot chucker.
He's playing.
Is he a
He's
certified
SEC.
shot chucker, though?
He is,
Yeah,
though.
he's
He
SEC Caleb Love.
Dude, he is a certified chucker. But Mac, I'm going to take over right here. I gave you guys a winner on the last pod. I told you that Auburn was winning the Maui. Plus 330. I said it was a no-brainer pick, and I love this Auburn team. So like Johnny said, I really don't think that there is going to be anyone else that wins this conference. I know it's very competitive and stuff like that. Like Mackey stated, road games are going to be hard to come from. But a dark horse that I do like and might throw some candy on, it would be Oklahoma at plus 7,000. Coming into the season, I didn't think that they were going to be talented, but they're 7-0 with winning the tournament that they just played. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you just think that's
okay.
a dumb pick.
Sorry. I thought my headphones messed up or something like that.
We cannot believe we cannot believe the words that just came out of your mouth.
Oklahoma, 7,000 on DraftKings. If they can survive the gauntlet of the entire season and somehow be in the running at the end of the season, I think that Porter Moser can use his experience that he had with Sister Jean and get it done. I'm serious. I really think that this team has talent. Jalen Moore averages about 18 boards for that Sooners team, and then they have a big forward of Sam Godwin that averages 8 boards. So they got a true scorer and a true big man. And like I said, Coach Moser does better with worse. That Loyola team didn't have anybody with a big name, and look where they went. I mean, they had 2 huge runs while he was there. But yeah, I mean, like I said, though, I don't think this is going to be a dark horse conference here. But I think plus 7,000, if I were to throw $5 on it, I'd be happy. But
I'm glad you brought Oklahoma up. They deserve some credit for what they did out in the Bahamas this week.
yeah,
When it comes to dark horse pick, I mean, plus 7,000, you might as well take a shot. You throw $10 and turn it into 700. You never know. You really never know, especially a league this deep.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if they can survive the gauntlet, obviously, then they have a shot. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
something that we're going to get into right now, actually, is I love Hurley's brat breakouts. I mean, this kid's a toddler. This coach is a toddler. He cannot handle losing, and it's pathetic. That I do disagree with the first game they lost. I think Liam McNeely, I don't know if you can call that with, I don't know how many seconds were remaining. I think that's a bad call, but losing 3 straight in the Maui, obviously great competition there, but the Colorado, I mean, are the Huskies done or what, DP?
No, I believe they're not done. This is a team that I guarantee they will be running the entire, stadium at UConn for the next, 5 months. He will have this team whipped into shape, really quick. Yeah, they took 3 straight L's, which, is unheard of for UConn at the time. But Memphis has some good guards, man. Memphis is a really good team. They could be a threat out there in the AAC. Colorado game was kind of off the charts, kind of nuts. And the Flyers are just playing well in Maui, so that was a rough time for them to connect with them there. But we'll really see what UConn's made of coming down the stretch. They play Baylor, Texas, the Zags, and Xavier, in their next 4 games. So we'll really see, how they come out fighting. If they win all 4 of those games, then I think we can kind of book it back that UConn's back.
Yeah, I mean, I feel really bad for Maryland Eastern yesterday. They got to go play UConn after UConn got home from Maui, and they just got absolutely smacked. But definitely, I would say maybe not panic, but definitely frustration in UConn. And when they called the over the back and then they didn't call it in the next game, I thought Dan Hurley was going to absolutely lose his mind. And then the TV showed the side-by-side of it, and I don't know if you guys saw it, but it was absolutely hilarious. But yeah, I mean, 3 good teams. I would say 2 good teams. Memphis and Dayton are very good teams. Definitely, if not in the tournament, they're going to be bubble teams right there trying to get into the tournament at the end of the year. And then, Colorado, they're well coached. They've always been a very decent program. And, you lose a game. You come off an emotional loss where you didn't expect to lose, and you got to turn around and play the next day. It's never easy to just bounce back. Mm-hmm. But the Dayton one was the one that really scared me and surprised me. But, as a UConn fan, don't panic. I mean, you've had glory for the last 2 years, and at some point you got to come back to reality. So, you lost a lot of guys. Cam Spencer was a stud. Stephon Castle was a top 10 pick. I mean, you lost a lot of good players to the NBA. Adama Sanogo, Donovan Clingan. You lost a lot of good players to the NBA. So we'll see what Hurley does, but I think UConn will bounce back.
No. Losing to Colorado. I don't care. I mean, John, we'll watch that entire game together. That Colorado team has one kid, and his name is Hampton. The fact that I know they got into foul trouble early, but if they can't stop one guy, how do they expect to win a basketball game? I mean, this was poor. It was poor out of UConn. Dan Hurley came into a press conference and said he'll never do a multiple game event ever again, and that's just because he's a sore loser. Truly, how are you going to say that?
I guarantee that they play in an event next year. There's no way that.
Yeah, he probably should have went to the Lakers if he's going to complain like this early.
Yeah, exactly. That's where you get the most competition. It's where you get your team the most experience. Just because you got landslided in the Maui Invitational and you're going to come into a press conference and say that we're never going to do that again, I mean, that is sad out of Dan Hurley.
That guy's a jackass.
No, it's truly sad. And like I said, he's just such a sore loser and he can't handle it. He's lucky that my Pups team with Parker Kershaw and Huffine don't beat him. Mac, what do you think?
Shut up, Kershaw. Go Illini.
It was ridiculous, and let me reiterate it. I don't think I'm allowed to say this on air, but that guy's a jackass, man. Win with class, lose with grace. He does neither of those.
I agree with you. He does.
I'm so glad he's not my coach. I don't care how much he wins. He would not represent the University of Kentucky on my watch. How embarrassing for him. And I loved every second of it. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think that team has the talent this year. They just don't. And hey, they've won 2 in a row, but I think they'll be a 6 or 7 seed in the tournament. No joke. I don't think they have it this year, gentlemen. I really don't. And that Big East already sucks. So there's not going to be as many night in and night out quality wins. And like you pointed out, the schedule coming up is a gauntlet. I think they lose at least 2 more before conference play starts.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Sorry, a 7 seed in the tournament this year, I would not want to be the 2 seed at the other end of the bracket.
No, not at all.
Absolutely not. Definitely not want to be the 2 seed. I'll tell you that much. But I don't think that they are a top 5 team.
Yeah, but to talk about another team that's struggling, man, and it's hard to say this, is the Hoosiers, man. They're just not playing good ball right now, and I'll be honest with you, I was pretty excited with our new additions that were coming in on the transfer portal. I was real excited for Miles Rice. I thought he was going to be a great leader. And obviously Ballo, big man Ballo. I thought that the narrative might have changed this year. Mike Woodson's always been all about defense, like Hoosiers. They're pretty much is tradition. If you go there, you're going to learn how to play defense. Mackenzie Ibaka, he's playing real well, and as of right now, he might look like our best player. Malik Renew looking solid as well, but sometimes he disappears in games. So I'm concerned about this IU team only because, like, I don't know, it doesn't seem like Coach Woodson's got the mental capacity to coach a high level basketball team anymore. I seen a clip on Twitter, and it was I forget his name. What's his first name? Goody? Is it Luke? Is it Luke
Luke
Goody?
Goody, yeah, Luke Goody from
Yeah, Luke
Illinois.
Goody's on the sideline firing up the guys, and Mike Woodson's just standing behind everyone. I mean, are you joking? That is embarrassing. You're on live TV, not coaching in a critical situation. You got other players that are coming in the transfer portal, first year there, and he's giving the game plan. I think that the Hoosiers are bad. I knew they were going to get their ass kicked by Gonzaga, and I don't know. I'm worried about this Hoosiers team. I think they're going to make the tournament. Obviously, probably not a good seed at all. Maybe a 13 or a 14, but this team is just not what I thought it was. And John, I'd like to hear your thoughts on it, buddy.
Yeah, all I got to say is, as an Indiana fan, be glad that IU, America, we got a football team now. Shout out Gus Johnson, because our basketball team is putting us into shambles right now. I mean, what are we doing? We get a very, very, very good transfer class. I don't understand. And then you go and you put your fifth-year senior, who you just paid $700,000 to, and you bring him off the bench. And he's gambling at 2 a.m. And that's supposed to be your leader. That's the guy that went to Big Ten Media Day. What are you doing, Mike Woodson? What is going on with this team? I mean, Cannon Carlisle, he's a great player at Stanford. He comes over to a big basketball school, and he can't perform at all. He turns the ball over. He doesn't play defense. He can't hit a three, and that's what he's known for. I mean, thank God we got Luke Goody, or we might have lost that Gonzaga game by 40, and we might have lost to Louisville by 60 because he looked like the only one that wanted to be there. I mean, Omar Ballo, sure, he's Omar Ballo. He gets clumsy at times. He's kind of lazy at times. Malik Renew, he takes a bunch of bad shots. He's a good four sometimes when he's composed and he tries to stay within himself. But other than that, I just don't know, because IU has always been known for winning games on the inside. But you have to have shooters. You have to have shooters to win in this day and age college basketball. And I do not know if Indiana has that. Miles Rice looked great early in the year against no competition. And then he goes and plays Louisville and turns the ball over 7 times.
Shout out Louisville, ACC winner. I picked that, but continue.
Yeah, we're not here to talk about Louisville. We're here to talk about how bad this Indiana team has looked so far. And I just don't understand the whole Trey Galloway coming off the bench thing. He's a fifth-year senior. He's won you games his whole career there. He's got heart. He wants to be there, but you got to want him to be there, because right now I think that's the biggest problem. They started him against Providence. He had 18 points, and they finally won a basketball game. So I think the Hoosiers will be all right, but it's panic mode for me right now, I'll be honest with you. What do you think about this, DP?
Yeah, maybe, Trey Galloway just needed a little heater at the blackjack table to come back to reality. And, he doesn't start versus the Zags. He had 4 points in that game, comes back, like you said, has 18 versus Providence, and he's back in the lineup. Maybe he just had to prove to Woodson that, he'll split 10s versus 10 or something. I mean, he just had to prove that, he's out there to play ball. And, I mean, maybe they just had, play well versus better or less competition. I mean, with the games that they played, they were in a battle with UNC Greensboro for a little bit. Got blown out by Louisville and Gonzaga. So, they play Sam Houston State and, Miami of Ohio before a little conference play. But then they also have, Chattanooga and Winthrop in the middle of that beginning conference slate. They should be able to pick up a few wins there. But Sam Houston can score the basketball a little bit. So that might give the Hoosiers a little bit of trouble. Granted, it is at home. But, I mean, you guys are more invested in that program than I am. So I understand your guys' frustration. So to me, it's just, getting the pieces together. They got new transfer guys. They just got to come together, and hopefully it's during conference play.
Maggie?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to go back because I feel like this is year number 9 in a row now of watching Indiana basketball where I've been like, where are the shooters? It's Indiana basketball. Go grab some random kid out of someone's barn in northern Indiana. I guarantee you he can shoot the ball. And Indiana does not have shooters. I just don't get it. one of you two that follows the program religiously, fill me in. Why does this continue to happen? It happened under Archie Miller, and it's happened every year under Woodson.
I really don't understand it, Mac. I don't. We lose Indiana kids to Purdue every time. You know, it's just how it is. And with, I'm not blaming the NIL because I think it's good for the players, but it's killed recruiting. You know, and I think IU has a huge athletic department, but they just developed a great football team culture. So you're not going to be able to just spend it on basketball anymore. You know what I mean? I don't know what to do. It's when Johnny and I went there, the 3 years we were there, we didn't have one shooter. You know what I mean?
We had
it was
Miller Kopp. What did he shoot from the field? 20%. Shout out Miller Kopp though. IU versus everybody.
yeah, but we had TJD and Jalen Hood Schifino. I mean, if we don't have two NBA caliber guys, that team would have sucked. Those teams would have sucked. And it's mind boggling. I mean, they're a blue blood. And I almost don't even want to call them a blue blood because we haven't competed in I don't even know the stats. When's the last time we've been to the Sweet 16? Was it with Yogi?
Yeah, it could have been that team, and if not Yogi, it was probably Zeller.
Yeah.
It was,
I mean,
2000, what was it, 15 against North Carolina?
Was it
14?
Oladipo?
Oladipo made it. They played Kentucky, the team that won the national title, and lost, but they made it after that too. They made it the following year and lost to Syracuse, and then I think in 2016 they beat Kentucky in the round of 32, and then they played North Carolina in the Sweet 16 and lost.
Yeah, so like I said, thanks, Mac, for those stats there. But I guess for good programs, it just seems like a long time. I mean, that's only 8 years ago, but is Blue Blood you're expecting to make it every year, every other? I don't know. And
yeah, I think at this point, all we should tell our viewers really is to don't bet the IU money line. Stay away from the IU spreads and just save your money this year because this team has no identity, and I don't know where they're going to go from here, to be completely honest with you. I mean, that was embarrassing to see early in the year out of a school that good. And a basketball, such a storied program, and you just wonder at what point are they going to get back to that level of basketball? They're getting the guys, they're getting the 4s and the 5 stars, but I mean, they have nothing to show for it, like nothing. And boosters, start donating your money to football, please.
Yeah, let me throw a couple things out there about the Hoosiers before we move on. Number one, I will point out another stat. In 2016, the Hoosiers went out to Maui and lost their first 2 games and had to scrap out a 7th-place win against UNLV. They go back and win the Big Ten and still make the Sweet 16. I think this team has that talent if it gels together to do that. So I'm not going to press the panic button yet. And number 2, I wanted to bring this up because I've heard some, not rumors, but I've just heard some chatter about it. Tommy Lloyd's not happy with the NIL situation in Arizona, and they're 3-4 to start the year. He's someone that I could see being in the running for Indiana if Mike Woodson continues to have the wheels fall off here. What do you guys think?
I'd like to see that. That'd be cool. I don't know. It's Woodson's alma mater. I don't think IU's going to fire him, but I do agree that if he gets to a point where he can't handle it anymore. I feel like he doesn't get that adrenaline anymore, and he doesn't get fired up. So
no,
that would be a good candidate. Tommy Lloyd, I feel like in Arizona lets a lot of guys do too much of what they want, and I think Indiana needs a coach that's going to put his foot in the ground and get these guys. Like, how are you letting your 5th-year senior be at a casino at 2 a.m? Like, you got to get a little bit of a hook on these guys.
You got to get control.
Yeah, like I don't understand it, and
this isn't the Rodman era where you can say, "Hey, I'm going on a weekend vacation. I'll call you when I'm done." Galloway, that is on him. Even though he had a good game against Providence, get your ass in the gym and get your boys fired up. This is embarrassing.
He's always been the Stevie Mitchell of IU. He's always been their glue guy, the one that keeps them together, that gets them fired up, and. I love Trey Galloway, but I hope that he really brings this team together, and because like Maggie said, everything is still out in front of him.
Yeah, I agree. But to get off the IU, I'm pissed off, whatever. We'll talk about 2 great teams that matched up this weekend. The Dukies versus the Rock Chalk Jayhawks. John, you were all over Kansas.
Rock Chalk Jayhawk.
John, you were all
you.
Wow.
Yeah, I was all over the Jayhawks, baby.
You
Me and
were.
Zach were watching that one over at dinner. Shout out dinner. He was on the Duke money line. That was awesome. What a high level basketball game. And what do you know, boys? What have I been saying all year? Freshman
Freshman
turns the
can't shoot
ball
free
over.
throws.
What'd you say? Yeah. Hey, college basketball kids shooting free throws. That's why you stay away from betting college basketball. But one thing I want to bring up, Cooper Flagg did exactly what he did against Kentucky.
Yep.
He comes down, he spins right into a double team, and he turns the ball over. Again. Without Dickinson in the last 7 minutes of that game. Shout out Floyd Dunk. I thought he played good. He stepped in. He played a good role. Rylan Griffin from Alabama has been huge for Kansas.
Get kicked in the face, nerd. Shout out Dickinson.
Yeah,
He's an idiot.
I thought Zeke Mayo was good. DeJuan Harris, he's been there for ages. I feel
Yeah.
like he's been there for 20 years,
Wow.
seriously. But that's a gritty win from Kansas. They were underdogs in that game, boys. And I couldn't believe it. I didn't understand the line, but huge game early in the year. The two biggest blue bloods in college basketball, high level basketball game. The Duke freshmen showed up again, but at the end of the day, what won? Experience.
Experience wins out. Some key in this. I know I harp on shooting percentages all the time. This was a 3-point game. Knipple had a three at the buzzer that I thought was going down off the bank. That'd have been an immaculate shot. But it really came down to the veteran presence of Kansas being 11 of 12 from the free throw line and Duke being 13 of 18. If Duke makes three more, free throws, the game's tied. And you don't know where it goes from there. But, the real story, I was really excited to see how Dickinson and Flagg, matched up against each other. Considering Cooper Flagg was like 10 years old when Dickinson started college. So, it's absolutely nuts. From his freshman year at Michigan to now, it seems like, Flagg would have been, in middle school. This was a high level basketball game. Shout out Square Roots, watched it there. Zach, the home of your workspace, had the spicy chicken sandwich. It was pretty fire. But yeah, this was a quality basketball game. I loved it. I love the beginning of the years. When all these teams match up against each other. It was great basketball to watch. Great to bet. What about you guys about this Jayhawk Blue Devil game?
I will openly say, Hunter Dickinson, that was probably the weakest kick I've ever seen, dude. Like my dog paws me harder than that, you loser. Update your LinkedIn. Good Lord.
Mac, that
Something
was no
about that
Anderson.
guy.
Mac, that was no Anderson Silva.
No, not even close. Anderson Silva could have kicked that person harder with his an ankle snapped in half.
Nothing bothers me more than Hunter Dickinson's celebration when he hits a three. Nothing bothers me more. Hunter Dickinson, I do not like you at all. You're ugly. You're not good at basketball. Retire already. You have no future in the NBA. And that is all I have to say about that guy.
Apple doesn't fall far from the tree, huh, John?
No, but Mac, are you done, or can I get after this Duke game?
I don't really have a ton to say. I think experience won again, as that has already been said. I don't really need to reiterate it. And the line made no sense. The public bet Duke up, and I will toss it over to you.
Yeah, man. I mean, like John said, we were watching out over at Dinner's house. High level basketball, of course, and we knew it was going to be. But yeah, the line didn't make sense. I didn't bet it. I let Johnny and Dinner go after it, but I probably would have been on Kansas. But I mean, I love DeJuan Harris. I think that he is an absolute stud point guard. He's a true point guard, and I think that he does not make mistakes. He shouldn't. I don't know. This is probably his 16th year in the college basketball, but this Kansas team's good. This Duke team's good. We're going to be seeing them at the end of March, and that's just the hands down argument that you can only make. These two teams will be there at the end of March, and hopefully Cooper Flagg, hey, they're going to keep going to him. He's going to adapt to the clutch shots at the end of the game. He's a great player. He's one of the best players we're going to see in a long time. So that's all I have to say on Kansas Duke. You guys want to say anything else before we wrap it up to the college football?
Duke Auburn Wednesday night at Cameron Indoor. Must see television without a doubt.
Yeah, for sure. But
the start of the undefeated season for Auburn.
But we're going into college football, guys. You know, we love college football. Rivalry weekend. But the game we're going to start off with, this is a rivalry, but this was the game of the weekend. Shout out John. We watched it at Dinner's house. Go figure. That's pretty much where we were the whole weekend. Georgia Tech. 8 overtimes. It seemed like it was never going to end. We had talks we were going to the Four Winds Casino, but we didn't know that the overtime was going to last an hour and a half. What a game. John, what was your emotions during that game, man?
Well, first of all, to the viewers out there, I live Georgia when they were down 17-0 at halftime. I put $200 on them at plus 220. And I'll be honest, this game was awesome until we got to the overtimes. But, you know, I thought Carson Beck looked good. Those seniors remain unbeaten, 25-0 at Sanford Stadium. That's awesome for them. They got their last home game. I kept telling the boys before the game even started, I'm like, Georgia Tech at plus 700 is going to be the best bet I never place. And Hayes King, shout out him, dude. Gritty, tough. He was hurt, battle tested all game, and he just kept going at that Georgia defense. You know, that game was electric. Good to see Georgia get the win. But the overtime, if you are Georgia, you have 5-star players. Georgia Tech does not have 5 stars. They don't have 4 stars. They don't have 350-pound linemen. Run the ball. And finally, they did it. In the 8th overtime, they took the ball, they handed it off, and they walked into the end zone. Like, I don't know. It's still, to me, if you are a Georgia fan, it is scary still out there in Athens. I mean, a home game, you're what were they, 18.5-point favorite, and you're in an 8 overtime game against Georgia Tech. Like, at some point, you know, Georgia's got to get a wake-up call, and I really do think they'll get knocked out of the playoff early. So, DP, your takes on this game?
Yeah, you know, I didn't really get to watch the first half of this game. I was in Indy for the IHSA state finals, but I was able to catch the end of the fourth quarter and all the overtimes at this game at the district tap. Shout out Modelo there, had a few of them there. But yeah, you know, the main thing here, you know, during this overtime segment, I hated the play calling by both teams. I thought the play calling for these 2-point plays was complete garbage. I mean, it was bizarre of how many, you know, stupid plays that were to be had. And then but I mean, I guess defense just showed up, which was surprising. You know, major shout out to Haynes King throwing for 303 yards on this Georgia secondary and defense and running for 110 yards.
Gritty. That kid's gritty, man.
You know,
He's a stud. He's a stud.
He had over 400 yards of total offense against, you know, what some people presumably say the best defense in the SEC. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Georgia still, as Mac always says, has no identity. I know Carson Beck threw for 5 touchdowns, but I mean, you're playing Georgia Tech. But to me, Georgia still can't establish the run. It's the same thing as Alabama. You know, if you stop Jalen Milroe from running, you're going to beat Bama, and that's what most teams have done successfully to beat them. And I guess maybe the success is, you know, make Carson Beck a pocket passer and see if you can win the game.
He did make some incredible throws in that football game. He looked kind of sort of in a way like that top 5 pick again.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, man, this game was awesome. I had Georgia plus 6.5. So when it got to the overtimes, I was sitting there like this, man. I mean, I couldn't believe it. John's over here sweating, and I had a winner. Go figure, I win. John wins too, but I win in a fashion that you'd love. I hate Carson Beck. Hayes King is a baller. I mean, that kid is an absolute captain. He's a leader. You could tell that he was hurting, and he never stepped off the field. He was getting hit every play, it seemed like, because he was running the ball all the time, but he was also making those great throws on 3rd and long and stuff like that to keep drives alive. I mean, this game was elite, and I loved watching it. It was like a 4-hour watch. I loved every second of it. Mac, you got any comments, buddy?
What an awesome football game. Probably game of the year. I don't know that it'll be beat. Georgia Tech blew this one. They had this game literally wrapped up. 27-13, 5 minutes left. You start playing prevent defense. Haynes King fumbles, which whatever. He was prone for a mistake. It is what it is. He played his heart out. But you had this game wrapped up, man. You blew it. And this whole Georgia thing wouldn't have been a debate. So Longhorns and that ferocious offensive line will take care of them at Sanford Stadium East next Saturday.
Yeah, we're gonna go over to a game that was just belt to ass. Let me reiterate this. It was belt to ass. Shout out Signetti. I wish you would have scored 100 on these Boilermakers. They suck. Hudson Carr, you're a fraud. You should have never left Texas, bud, because everyone knows that you suck. That program, that program sucks. 56-0. We almost scored more points than you had yards. You guys should all stick to chess club or something over there because in West Lafayette, that team has nothing except for a basketball program and maybe women's volleyball. They suck. I'll pass it to you, John.
There's not much to say about this game, man. I mean, it was a 1-10 team. IU needed a get right football game before we get to the playoff. But it's pretty obvious. Signetti made it pretty clear that he hates Purdue, and that's what you love to see as an Indiana fan. I mean, Curtis Rourke was flawless. I mean, I think he threw for 6 touchdowns in that game. I mean, Ellison looked good. Tyson Lawton. I mean, they were getting whatever they want. I really do think my 8U Junior Bulldogs team could have beat them. Like, that team is bad. As my buddy Denner, who's a Purdue fan, I mean, congratulations, IU. You beat a high school football team. Like, Hudson Card, horrible. You know, this Purdue team, they fired Ryan Walters yesterday. Thank God for Purdue fans. They're lucky there. But, I mean, this was a rout. 66. You hung 66 on them in your first rivalry game as the Indiana head coach. Talk about making a statement and letting this Purdue team know what they got to deal with for the next 8 years. That is crazy.
Yeah, in a game like this, obviously the free money was, Hoosiers minus 29. But the real way to make your free money in this game was betting Purdue punt every single drive because this team is horrible. I don't even care that they fired Ryan Walters. This team is going to be ass for the foreseeable future. They have no hope. That game versus Illinois was an absolute fluke. I don't know if Illinois is really even that good. But
Illinois' quarterback got hurt that game too, I think.
Yeah. I'm so glad that Purdue sucks. Their fans are annoying. This was an absolute belt to ass, like Z said. So I'm so glad that this happened. As for the Hoosiers, this was a get right game, preparing for the playoff, considering they don't play in the Big Ten championship game. But this was just great to watch. I'm so glad that I truly wish, as everyone said, that this game was 100-0.
Yeah, real quick, I just want to shout out Nathan Shammer. This kid placed a bet. Purdue total under 0.5 points. And he cashed that, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Well,
I don't care how much. I don't care if you won $1. It's the best bet I've ever seen.
Hey, plus 1,100. He threw $5 on that, 155. I couldn't believe it when I see it on his Snapchat. Shout out Shammer.
Great comedy.
Free money.
Yeah, that was awesome. Mac, I know you don't like to waste your breath on stupid stuff. Would you even like to comment on this ass whooping that the Hoosiers put on Purdue?
I will comment to one thing. Congratulations, Indiana. Best program or best season your program's ever seen. You're in the college football playoff. As for Purdue, obviously Walters got fired. I think Tyson Helton's the name you want to watch there from WKU as their next coach.
Yeah. So, I mean, DP, how about them Irish? I mean, that was a great football game. I didn't like it too much just because of how close it was. I knew it was going to be close, but at the end there, they had a chance to tie it up, and our defense made a play. But the Irish are in. We're always prone to not playing well over in the Coliseum. But the Irish are in. Jeremiah Love might be the best athlete in the world. DP, how good does it feel that the Irish are going to be a 5 in the college football playoff?
Yeah, I'm really excited that, they were able to pull this game out. I really think, going into halftime tied at 14 against this team, they really brought out some juice in the second half, outscoring them 21-7 in the third quarter. I know, most coaches like to emphasize, the middle 8, the end of the first half and the start of the second half. You really have to win those first 8 and then first 8 minutes to be able to, have success. And I'm just really excited how this team played. I know Jay Love got, hurt, banged up, so Bryce had to carry the load for the second half, which was fine because he's damn good too. But on the other hand, USC found their guy at quarterback, I think. Mavia
Yeah.
played really good. He had, 360 yards passing to USC players, but 199 to Notre Dame players. So that was always fun. Those two pick sixes at the end of the game, 100 yards each. I mean, that was phenomenal. I was driving back home from Indy at the end of the game, screaming in my car. So I'm just glad we were able to stay on the road. But yeah, it was great. I think after, the previous game that they had, they needed a game like this to be able to, progress forward, one that was, closer. So, I'm obviously happy that they pulled away. We get a home playoff game now. I'm excited. I don't know which day it'll be, but, wouldn't be surprised if there's 3 feet of snow and it's, 15 degrees in South Bend for this game. So I'm excited. Go Irish. FUSC as always. And I wish, they weren't going bowling, but it is what it is. Lincoln Riley, or you're going to be a head coach somewhere else. You never know.
Yeah, shout out Notre Dame. Bouncing back from that loss early in the year. It's good to see. Marcus Freeman finally showed that he's a good coach. This offense has been rolling teams. I do think one thing that I do want to point out a little bit is a little bit of concern on the defensive side of the ball in that game. I mean, USC's got a high-powered, very good offense. They got very good players. Deuce Robinson. They got Woody Marks. I mean, I think Notre Dame's defense will be fine, but what happens when you play a team like Oregon? I just wonder because you got to think of their path. If they get the 5 seed, they would be probably seeing Oregon in that semifinal matchup, and I think it'd be a great game. Like I said last week, I think Notre Dame's true national championship contenders, and I hate saying that because I hate Notre Dame, but this team's good, great running. Riley Leonard, hopefully he can make the throws in the big games, and we'll see what happens with this Notre Dame team going forward.
Yeah, the only thing with the concerns about facing a team like Oregon, I mean, obviously, Oregon likes to run the ball too. I'm not really surprised that USC, threw the ball 50 times in this game. So, and I mean, Notre Dame loves to play, man-to-man coverage. They're one of the highest rated man-to-man coverage teams in the country. So, them facing that versus a high-powered attack that throws the ball all the time, it's just a matter of if their pressure, gets there. And, sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't. Plays are going to be, had in games like this. So, I think it'll be interesting. I'm excited. So, it should be fun. I just hope, guys stay healthy, during these weeks of practice and everything like that. Is there a chance, Benjamin Morrison comes back after surgery and was able to play if they make it all the way to the national championship game? I guess you never know. But that'd be something fun and hopeful to wish for.
Mac, what do you think about these Irish, man?
Fantastic game overall. The 2 pick sixes at the end of the game were pretty awesome to see. Shout out Drake Bowen, fantastic game. Region Rat, love seeing him play well. He seems to improve every single game. Playing linebacker there. Notre Dame's a legit national championship contender. It's not a joke. They're going to be the 5 seed, and if not, that's ridiculous. They're going to host regardless, and I'm very intrigued to see what the matchup is.
Yeah, so I think Johnny thought he was going to escape this week without being mentioned of how I told you guys. Ohio State sucks. Will Howard
Michigan was going to beat him last weekend.
Will Howard, figure trash, like I said. This kid sucks. He's just like McCord. He can't play in a Power 5 team in the country. Shout out McCord, though. I'm so happy to be Miami. But
Miami.
it was nothing but sunshines and rainbows on my TV when I saw Dave Portnoy post on TikTok laughing at this team. I hate Ohio State. I mean, like Dave Portnoy said, Michigan doesn't even have an offense. It's embarrassing. How do they
By
lose
the way,
at home?
Ohio State's still favored to win the national championship, so you can keep running your mouth.
That's false. They're fourth.
I saw them yesterday, and they were still first, tied with Oregon.
Yeah, must have.
Johnny's book, Mackie. It's Johnny's bookie book in his brain. But wow, Matt, give me your insights on this Ohio State loss at home to Michigan.
I mean, it was awesome. This is the best rivalry in sports. I will come out and say it right now. I love this game. Every single year, I clear the calendar to the noon on the Saturday after Thanksgiving. Best rivalry game in sports, period. I love every second of it, and that's what the sport's all about. Ohio State, what do you know? Ryan Day, once again, in a big game. It's amazing. Ohio State dominated this rivalry for 10 years. And then all of a sudden, what do you know? Ryan Day comes in and can't beat him.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I did not think Ryan Day was going to make it back to the locker room. The way that Ohio State reacted to that after they just lost to a team that, like everybody said, had no offense. You're fighting people. I don't understand that. And if there are any punishments, I mean, you got to think about this. Ohio State's still going to the playoff. It feels like their season's over because they just lost to that team, but they're still going to the playoff. And I'll be honest, if Ryan Day doesn't win the national championship, I think his career as the Ohio State head coach is over. Mike Vrabel, we'll see you in Columbus soon.
Yeah, I understand that Ohio State wins, 10 plus games a year. But, for them, if you can't beat Michigan, that's a fireable offense. 4 consecutive years that they have not beat the Wolverines. And, like you said, I'm surprised that they even let him walk back to the locker room. I thought he was going to get fired right there, even though that they'll be 10-2. But that aftermath of the game was absolutely atrocious. I love it. I think it's electric, to be honest
I
with you.
loved it.
And I mean, just to think back to, 2015, if Baker Mayfield would have did that nowadays, I mean, World War III might have started on the field out there in Columbus with what he did when he beat the Buckeyes. But I mean, that just kicked off a whirlwind of stuff for the day. I mean, we saw how many fights in these rivalry games. I know a Notre Dame player punched a USC lineman because he was pulling on his leg. That didn't get
That was
flagged.
awesome.
I didn't know George Pickens was playing for every college football team on Saturday.
Everyone did have George Pickens' energy.
Yeah.
That was electric.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
this was awesome. What a great day for that. I mean, obviously it's not what you want to see in the sport, but it's what we want to see, and it's electric.
so we're gonna jump into the Beanie Boys playoff picture here. I think we're all in agreement, and I think that it's kind of obvious that Notre Dame, Oregon, Texas, Penn State, Georgia, IU, Ohio State, and Tennessee are probably all going to get in. Are we all in agreement of that?
Yes.
Yeah. So, guys, who do we think is going to be sneaking in here with the four other teams remaining? I know Boise State gets a lot of credit, but they play in a garbage conference. But you obviously have to respect wins. I also love Arizona State and BYU. I don't think BYU is. Yeah. So, guys, what are your last four teams to sneak in? Because I think I don't have four, but I know one that I think is going to be in the playoff to fill a spot is SMU. I think that program has made drastic changes, and their quarterback is a stud. I'm not sure what percentage they are to get into the college football playoff, but I think that SMU team could potentially pull off an upset. But if they play the Irish at the 12-5 spot, bad day for the Mustangs.
What do we be an upset? Z, they're playing for an ACC championship game.
Yeah, it's winning in for SMU.
It's winning in for SMU. They got Clemson next week.
So SMU has one loss, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So if they lose, they're out. So they have to beat Clemson.
Yeah. They play Clemson in the ACC championship. I don't know what the line is on that game, but I could
2.5.
Yeah, 2.5. I mean, that game can go either way.
Give me SMU.
I don't really have four here, but I kind of have three for you, Z. One thing that I do want to point out is Boise State's not automatically in. They got to play UNLV Friday night. UNLV, they were in a game. That was a momentum changing game last time they played. I think Boise State won 29-24 in that game. So I think the winner of that game will be the 12 seed. But if Boise State wins, I think they'll get the 4 and the Big 12 champ will get the 12. But three teams that I look at, one being SMU, which you mentioned, Zach. And then the other two that I look at is Alabama. I know nobody wants to see it, but Alabama is the best 3-loss team. They got a lot of key wins. And nobody's going to like this one. Give me Shane Beamer and the South Carolina Gamecocks. I think South Carolina, that win at Clemson yesterday could have cemented them into the college football playoff. They may need a few things to happen, but South Carolina has got a legit chance to be in this 12-team playoff.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a horrible take. We've seen this team make a huge run at the end of the year. This is a totally different team than it was from week one. And I just pulled up a link here. It says that they have a 21% chance to make the playoff. Like you said, John, it's going to take some things to happen, but I don't think it would be a bad thing to put them in the 12-team playoff because they will compete against anyone in the country, I believe.
Bye
Mac,
bye, Miami. Bye bye, Miami.
Mac, what do you think, buddy? Who's your teams that you think are going to be in the last spot?
I want it to be South Carolina, but I know it's unfortunately going to probably end up being Alabama. They're going to want Alabama, Notre Dame, and South Bend to be the 12-5 game. We all know that. But I want it to be South Carolina. Lenora Sellers is electric. I want him in.
Yeah, Alabama cannot get the 12 seed, Mackie. That is impossible.
Why are they going to give the Group of 5 winner the 12?
So the Group of 5 winner or the Big 12 winner will be the two that will be filling that 4 and that 12 slot. So Alabama would be the 11.
Whichever one is the lower ranked at the time.
So if Boise State wins on Friday night, Boise State will be the 4 seed.
Yeah.
And then the winner of Arizona State, Iowa State will be the 12 seed.
The 12, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, DP.
If UNLV beats Boise State, then UNLV would be the 12 and the Big 12 champion would be the 4.
Yep.
So DP, what do you think, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to get to the 5 seed and kind of wait. I think that's where we want to be. I mean, obviously no one wants to see, an Alabama or Georgia or somebody like that. Because I truly with these, games, these conference championship games, if SMU loses, is there a world that they still put SMU over Alabama? You never know because it'll be 11-2. So, it'll be really interesting. How far does Penn State fall if Oregon beats them? How far does Georgia fall if Texas beats them?
I think both those teams are in, don't you?
No, they probably are in, but the shuffling of teams is going to be, really interesting. On the outside looking in, being an IU fan, is there a way that you get a home playoff game, being the 8 seed? Like, Bloomington might host a playoff game based on, how far does Georgia fall? How far does Penn State fall? So, like, the shuffling of teams after these conference championship games is going to be really, really nice. I'm a huge fan of Arizona State. I like what Kenny Dillingham is doing there. I think they're going to be pretty good. They're going to be a tough out in the playoff. South Carolina's looking good. They should have beat Bama in the regular season. They do have a bad loss to Ole Miss, 27-3. So, there's teams that they played that, they should have a win. They have, a loss. But it'll be interesting. The main thing here is truly like, what if Clemson wins? What do you do with SMU? What if Georgia beats Texas? Where does Texas fall to? What if Penn State upsets Oregon? So it'll be a whole debacle, if, the underdogs win these games in the conference championship. So, I mean, that's where you don't want to be if you're IU, because if you're IU and Texas and Oregon lose, you're just going to start getting shuffled down the board. So I think this week of games is going to be great. It all starts Friday night. So I'll be really locked into these games. Don't count out Ole Miss either. They love the SEC out there at the College Football Playoff Committee. So it'll be interesting. I really don't have, abundance of teams because I think it's all mumbled jumbled between, the 8 to the, 13 seed rankings. So it should be great. I'm excited to see how all the dominoes fall. It's going to be really great. So just for Notre Dame's sake, you hope that you're the 5 seed. IU, hopefully you can get bumped up to the 8 to host a home playoff game. But it's going to be great. It's going to be fun.
You will look out for Purdue. I think the Junior Bulldogs playoff starts next week as well. They might compete there.
Yeah, guys, but we're gonna transition into the professional side of football, and just shout out Eberflus for ruining my Thanksgiving.
He's asked.
Week after week, I have to come on here in front of the camera and just be embarrassed. Bears hat, but I'm proud. I'm proud for this segment. I'm so proud of the Bears for getting rid of him. ever that the Chicago Bears have fired a head coach in a season. And honestly, I think this is total change of atmosphere in the Chicago organization. I think you got to get out with the negativity and bring in positivity. I'm tired of everyone blaming for every single thing. 30 seconds left on the clock, you're on the ball, and somehow the time runs out without getting a field goal attempt. You cannot blame your rookie quarterback for this. Head coach has to call a timeout if it gets into that situation. You have to. Thinking, this guy's a moron. I'm tired of it. Eberflus, I hope your turkey was burnt, you fraud. You suck.
Yep, go Lions, baby. Go Lions.
Games in
Yeah,
a row. Lost by one score.
I mean, this is an absolute roller coaster ride for the Bears. I could not imagine being a Bears fan. This is absolutely miserable. That was not on Eberflus at all. Caleb Williams had to play with 21 seconds. If Eberflus uses that timeout, then guess what? The next down would have been fourth down if they ran a play. They wouldn't have been able to spike the ball. The time would have ran out on him. So I do agree that, I mean, maybe you could have had a better Hail Mary chance if you called the timeout. Like, I don't know what Caleb Williams was doing. I don't know if you heard his post-game interview, but he said that he changed the call. He audibled the call to another play, and he thought that the guy had a good route downfield. I mean, I don't get it. Kick the field goal and go to overtime. Like, it's just
No, you know why we didn't kick the field goal? Is because Cairo Santos didn't want to ruin everyone's Thanksgiving by making them puke after it gets blocked. He sucks.
Yeah, dude, just face the fact that the Bears season is over. Just accept it, move on. It's not the coaches. It obviously hasn't been the coaches. It's the organization. It doesn't matter who you bring in. They're not going to be good. It does not matter.
And I'd like to come back at you for this. Go figure Johnny Parker says something so stupid. John, the NFC North is the best football conference across the board, and it's not close. The last 3 games we've played the Detroit Lions, the Minnesota Vikings, and the Green Bay Packers. We've lost a combined of 6 or 7 points in those games.
So what are you saying here? I mean,
What I'm,
Good teams.
you are still a National Football League team. If you want to be that team and you want a change of heart, then you got to beat some good teams, buddy. You can't just go beat the Panthers and the Patriots and the Jaguars and the Raiders.
They didn't beat the Patriots.
You're not going to play those teams every single week, buddy. It's the National Football League. At some point, the Bears got to start beating good teams.
Shout out Colts, dude. Put up a great fight today against the Patriots. So glad. Nice.
Hey,
I know.
Bears
nice.
didn't score a touchdown against the Patriots, if I remember correctly.
That's fine. I'm just saying. We got rid of the negativity and we have looked better. We got rid of the offensive coordinator. We should have beat the Packers the next game. We get rid of Eberflus.
Coordinator's gone.
I know. What a tough division you're in over there, Johnny. The fighting Titans, and who else is in there? Who even knows? The Jaguars.
The Texans
Jaguars with Tua Lawrence over there.
Next topic, dude.
Hold on. I'm gonna join this conversation a little bit with saying, these NFL teams, practice this all the time. Okay, like your field goal unit has a hot, and you're ready to go at any time at the end of the game. We do this stuff at high school. These pro teams should be, this should be the easiest thing that they've ever done. If you still run a play with 21 seconds to go, like they had on the ball, if you're in bounds, you run the field goal unit on, you kick the ball. If you get the first down, you spike it and kick the field goal. It's just not like it's just stupidity in the city of Chicago. I mean, Eberflus was an absolute idiot, and Caleb Williams needs to stop changing the play with 20 seconds to go. Run whatever you have, and if it's incomplete, whatever. Like, you just need to go with it. You have no time to change the play. Yes, he probably was a little bit open, but the ball was still overthrown anyway, so it really didn't matter. But it is frustrating to watch. Obviously, when you live the Bears, plus 1,500 for $10.
I did too. I'm not gonna lie to you.
And they do some stupid shit. So it is what it is. Yeah, they play in the toughest division in football, but guess what? If they finish last in the division again and they get some help, they'll have one of the easiest schedules because they'll play the last team in the division for every other team that they play on their next year's schedule, like they do this year. So you still have next year to worry about too if you're gonna chalk it up already. Go get the draft pick. Go get a good offensive line. You should probably take 7 of them in all rounds this year. So it is what it is for the Bears.
What do you
Poorly
think,
coached
Mike?
teams find ways to lose, and that's exactly what happened. Matt Eberflus is not a good coach. I understand Johnny's argument that the Bears want to blame everyone but the organization, but Matt Eberflus just was not a good coach. It's flat out. It's
Thank you,
something
Mackie.
every single week with this guy. Every single week, and his defense is great. It's a bend don't break defense. He plays a lot of Tampa too. It's entertaining football. They play really aggressively. He will be a great defensive coordinator again in the league. Head coach, way in over his boots.
I think it's
Yeah.
going to be like when you hear breaking news that the Bears hire Matt Nagy as their new head coach. I think it's going to be absolutely electric. He's the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs right now. He's got him at 11-1, so he's a top candidate for a head coaching job coming up next year. So don't be
Yeah,
surprised if he goes back to
give,
Chicago.
give me Ben Johnson. Anyways, we're actually going to be talking about the Chiefs. They escape every game.
Dude, the Chiefs, they're the Chiefs. I mean, they're 11-1, man. They clinched playoff berth 12 games into the season. It's Andy Reid, it's Patrick Mahomes. They have a good organization. And they just win football games. It doesn't matter how you win in the NFL. It is hard to win football games in the NFL, and they've won 11 out of the 12 of their games this year. Yes, I do think it's going to bite them down the stretch, but how have the Chiefs always been? They always play better when games start to matter. I mean, they've won the last 2 Super Bowls. It's got to be a little hard to, get up and do it every day when you've already been doing it for the last 2 years. But I think they're going to three-peat. I still think they're the best team in the NFL, and you still have the best quarterback in the league and the best coach in the league. So I think the Chiefs will be.
Yeah, John, and I'd like to go off what you said there. You probably do think the Chiefs have a great organization. You're a big Swiftie and all.
What does Taylor Swift have to do with the Chiefs organization?
They show look at Mackie. They show her all the time, kid. What does she have to do with the organization? Spiked their merchandise by 170%. I'd say that's a pretty significant thing in their organization, actually. Disagree over there?
No, I don't disagree with you. They need to stop showing her on TV, but I mean, she's bigger than the world, bro. She's the biggest thing there is. I mean, shout out Taylor Swift. Dave Portnoy's a Swiftie, so I personally am not a Swiftie because I hate Dave Portnoy.
No, but yeah, I mean, I just want to comment on Aiden O'Connell. I mean, what a football game that kid put on. Brock Bowers, this kid's looking like Gronk. He is a stud. How many yards did he have? Like 140?
Yep.
I think he had 10 for 140 and a tud, right? Wow.
He's a stud.
Brock
This
Bowers.
kid's a stud. I'm tired of the Chiefs winning. I want to see him go down, but don't see a world where they do. DP, what do you think, bud?
Yeah, it's just a typical thing that, happened where it was a false start, but it was a botch snap, so they called an illegal shift instead, and the Chiefs recovered it. It happens every week. There'll be a PI, I did see a meme on a page that a ref was down during the game and it said that a Chiefs player had been hurt during the play. So I thought that was absolutely hilarious. It just happens, they find ways to win. Obviously everyone's seen the hot mic of Mahomes, saying, "Hey, can you tell me, when he's close?" That right there, it just proves that, there may be some stuff going on, but you never know. They do find ways to win. Shout out Aiden O'Connell. Purdue still sucks, but you played well. I thought he played great. He should be their starter for the rest of the year, truly.
Yeah, for sure.
I think next year. I think they should give him a chance next year. I don't know why they went to Gardner at the beginning of this season.
Yeah.
They're gonna get a top 3 pick and they're gonna take Shador or Cam Ward. They're not gonna give Aiden O'Connell a chance, and that kind of sucks because he did play really good. And to be honest with you, I think he'll be a very solid fill-in, stopgap type starter in the league for the next handful of years. I wouldn't be surprised if someone picked him up.
Yeah, and like one of our last topics for the NFL here, I just want to talk about is just the Falcons' struggles, guys. I mean, this team was electric in the first half of the season. I mean, Kirk O'Chains was slinging the ball. My boy Darnell Mooney looking great. Drake London, wide receiver, one caliber player. Bijan Robinson looked good too. Happened to this team that looked like the clear front runner of that division. Mac, what do you think, bud?
Kirk Cousins, you owe me $100 or a signed jersey or both. That was pathetic. What a joke of a performance, man. Like what how much turkey did you eat this weekend? 4 picks? You were spoon feeding the Chargers defense. It's already one of the best in the league. That's embarrassing. Put in Penix. The Falcons are not as good as I nearly thought they would be all year. They're falling apart at the seams. Kirk doesn't look very good, obviously, as I just stated. I don't think it's going to get any better for me either. I think the Bucks win that division.
Shout out Baker.
Yeah, shout out Baker. You know, this game really helps the Buccaneers. Obviously, the Buccaneers squeaked out one versus the Panthers late in overtime today as well. But, you know, the Falcons really, really struggling. You know, I'm glad I benched Kirk this week in favor of Jared Goff. I'd have been mad in a win and go home situation in fantasy. But, you know, obviously, you know, Drake London's target share, you know, 16 targets, he had 9 catches. He probably should have had a few more catches, some balls that would drop, some that are overthrown. But the lack of getting Kyle Pitts involved is kind of crazy by the Atlanta Falcons offensive coordinator spot. You know, he had 2 targets for no catches today. Like, that guy is a key factor in like winning games. Like, he should be getting the ball more, not, you know, the ball being thrown to Tyler Algier and Charlie Warner. Like, these balls need to be going to Kyle Pitts, you know, Mooney, Bijan, Drake London. Even Ray McLeod has shown flashes this year, but they just need to start spreading the ball out. I mean, it was fun that, you know, it was that Thursday night game, the electric one that Kirk threw for 500 yards. Like, you know, you were thinking that this offense is going to be scoring 50 points a game after something like that with being as high powered as they are. But,
Yeah.
you know, real struggle time in Atlanta right now. And I mean, you just gave Baker, Mike Evans back, you know, Bucky Irving's playing tough. Rashad White, they got, you know, nice 3-headed monster running back with Tucker as well. So that team's going to be tough to beat. You know, I really don't think the Saints are contenders at all in that division. Panthers are not as well. So it's kind of the Bucks division to take at the moment because the Panthers are really, really struggling.
I understand.
Schedule opens up too for the Bucks.
Yeah, I understand that Kirk's a veteran and everything, but you just drafted a quarterback at top 15 in the draft. At what point do you give him a chance? I mean, 4 picks in an NFL game is absolutely crazy. They just paid Kirk Cousins all that money. I get it, but Michael Penix can sling the ball, and why not see what he's got? I mean, they have weapons all over the field. It's going to be hard for him to look bad in that offense. I mean, you got a great running back, 2 great running backs in Algier and Bijan. And then, I mean, you got McLeod, Drake London, and Mooney on the outside. I mean, it's going to be tough to look bad. I'd give the rookie a chance. I mean, after that,
breaking news. Hobbling to the sideline.
What happened?
McCaffrey hobbling to the sideline. Down right in
all
the
right.
pitch.
But that's all I got on that Atlanta topic. I think the Bucks are going to run away with this division here and get on a little bit of a roll with Mike Evans back.
Yeah, I mean, the Falcons aren't going to make the move to Penix this year, obviously, but he's 24, 25 years old. You drafted him in the top 15. Like, yeah, next year this has to be a conversation. And I want to see him play. I really do.
Well, tonight, Mac, we don't necessarily have some must-see TV of the NBA, maybe the Nuggets and Cavs. So we're actually going to pass it to you for the low-hanging fruit, kid.
It was a brutal week. We're back to 4-4 on the year. A&M, no offensive touchdowns. You block a punt late in the game to backdoor it for us, and you can't get in. Unreal, whatever. And then the Falcons, I just talked about. I'm not even going to touch on it. What an embarrassing week. Needless to say, not a good weekend for Tyler, but we're going to keep firing off some wagers. So let's take a good old look at the board here for next week. There is one spot that I really like to go, and I can't believe I'm going to do it again. The Atlanta Falcons are getting 5.5 against Minnesota. I'm going to lay the 5.5, or I'm going to get the 5.5 with Atlanta. I'm going to keep going back to the well. I can't believe I'm going to do it. But that would be my first pick. Where do you guys heads lay on that?
I love it.
I love it too. Why not? Go back to the well. It's broke, so just keep going back to broke, I guess, until it's fixed.
Yeah. You know, the only thing with that, you know, the Vikings tend to, I guess, somehow win these close games all the time. So being able to lay that 5.5 or we'll get the 5.5, even if it's a field goal game like the Vikings have been in, that's a cover. So just gotta hope that Kirk produces versus the Vikings, which it could be a little bit of a revenge game, i.e. Geno Smith today versus the Jets. So we'll see.
Yeah,
Mac, pick
it
two.
pains to do it, but I'm doing it again with the Falcons. And then pick number two, I'm actually strongly confident in. UNLV, I will get the 3.5 points against Boise State. Genty's a stud. Boise State's good. Nobody's talked about UNLV all year, and it's hard to beat a team twice in a season. You can give me the running Rebels to get that 3.5. I think it'll be a close game. Won't be stunned if they win it outright.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I was actually going to bring that game up. I honestly, I think UNLV is going to win that game outright. Last time they played, it took a UNLV to me looked like the better team in that game. Somehow Boise State ended up getting it done. Their defense made a few more plays than UNLV does, but that UNLV quarterback's a stud. He's a freak athlete. He runs a lot. He can. I think his last name's Halik Williams or something like that, but he's an absolute stud. He could throw the ball down the field. They could spread it around, and that's going to be an absolutely electric football game. Must see TV there, Mackie. I know we don't got any in the NBA this week, but UNLV Boise State Friday night is must see TV.
Yeah, round two should be fantastic, and I think 3.5 is just too many. I think it comes down to the final play, no matter which way it goes.
Yeah, that game being Friday night, the only thing that it has going for them is that it is in Boise. It could be cold up there in Idaho, maybe some snow. UNLV, coming from Vegas, that could have an impact. But I think UNLV will want to, come back and avenge their loss from earlier in the year. So I like the UNLV play. That's going to be a quality game. They only held Genty to 128 yards rushing in that first game, I believe. So expect them to try and stop the run big time in this one. Force Boise State to get uncomfortable and throw the ball a lot. It's going to be a high-quality game Friday night. It's going to be a great game to watch.
Like I said, Mackie, I tail all of your plays. I think you're wrong, man. Give me Genty and the boys. It's just like the Miami Dolphins on Thanksgiving. Those guys that play in constant heat just look bad in the cold, cold winter of these states that get freezing temperatures. I think that, do I think it's going to be a close game? For sure. I think Boise wins this game by 7 and gets their playoff spot in. I wouldn't be surprised if Genty runs for 200 just because if the run's going and the offensive line's winning that battle in that cold temperature, why veer away from it? So Mackie, this is the first time I'm not taking your pick. I hope you respect it. But give me Genty and Boise State to cover that 3.5. But guys, virtual Z and Mac here, wrapping things up. Wish I was in the garage. But episode 5. Gentlemen.
Wrap. Peace out, Beanie Boys. We out.
Have a good weekend, or have a good week, gentlemen.
Yep. We'll see you, buddy.